In 1845, a silent disaster swept across Ireland. It wasn't war. It wasn't an invasion. It was a disease attacking the country's most important crop. Within days, healthy potato fields turned black. The leaves withered, the plants collapsed, and beneath the soil, millions of potatoes rotted into foul-smelling mush. For most Irish families, this wasn't simply a failed harvest. It was the loss of nearly all their food. Over the next 7 years, about 1 million people died from starvation and disease, while another million fled Ireland, many perishing during dangerous voyages across the Atlantic. Entire villages disappeared, and the country's population would never fully recover, all because of one humble crop. Today, potatoes are everywhere. They're mashed, baked, fried, and served in countless dishes across the globe. More than 150 countries grow them, making potatoes one of the world's most important food crops. But it wasn't always that way. For centuries, Europeans refused to eat them. Some believed they caused disease. Others claimed they were cursed. Religious leaders even argued they were never meant for human consumption. So how did a poisonous wild plant become one of the foundations of modern civilization? To answer that question, we have to travel back nearly 8,000 years to the Andes Mountains of South America. There, high above the clouds, grew a small, bitter, toxic plant that few people would have considered valuable. Yet the indigenous farmers who lived among those mountains saw potential where others saw danger. Through patience, observation, and generations of experimentation, they transformed that poisonous plant into a crop capable of feeding empires, changing continents, and one day perhaps helping humanity survive beyond Earth. The history of the potato isn't just the story of a vegetable, it's the story of human survival, innovation, and one of the greatest agricultural achievements ever made. Nearly 8,000 years ago, long before the rise of great civilizations, a remarkable discovery was taking place, high in the Andes Mountains of present-day Peru and Bolivia. The environment was harsh. Thin air, freezing nights, and rocky soil made farming extremely difficult. Yet among the mountains grew a small wild plant with underground tubers. These early potatoes looked nothing like the ones we know today. They were tiny, bitter, and highly poisonous. Eating them raw could cause severe illness and, in large amounts, even death. Most people would have ignored such a dangerous plant. The indigenous communities of the Andes did the opposite. Over countless generations, they carefully observed nature and experimented with different ways to make the tubers safe. They discovered that soaking potatoes in cold mountain streams reduced some of the toxins. Repeated cycles of freezing during the night and thawing under the daytime sun removed even more. Slowly, they turned a deadly plant into a reliable source of food. But their greatest achievement wasn't simply removing the poison. Every harvest, they saved seeds from the best potatoes, those that were less bitter, larger, and more productive. Generation after generation, they unknowingly practiced selective breeding, improving the crop thousands of years before anyone understood genetics. Over time, potatoes became bigger, richer in starch, and far less toxic. Even more impressive, Andean farmers didn't rely on just one variety. They developed hundreds, and eventually thousands, each adapted to different climates, soils, and elevations. If one failed, others often survived. It was a natural defense against famine, and one of the smartest agricultural strategies in history. By the time organized kingdoms began appearing across the Andes, the potato had become much more than food. It had become the foundation of an entire civilization. By the 1400s, the Inca Empire had become the largest civilization in the Americas, stretching across thousands of miles of rugged mountains. Building an empire in the Andes wasn't easy. The land was steep, the climate unpredictable, and many crops struggled to survive. But one crop flourished: the potato. While wheat failed in the freezing highlands, potatoes thrived. Inca farmers carved terraces into the mountainsides, turning rocky slopes into productive farmland that fed millions of people. What made their farming even more remarkable was its diversity. Instead of growing a single type of potato, the Inca cultivated more than 3,000 varieties. Some were yellow, others purple, red, blue, or almost black. Each was carefully matched to a specific altitude, climate, and soil type. If frost damaged one variety, another often survived. This diversity gave the empire an enormous advantage against crop failure. But growing food was only half the challenge. Keeping it from spoiling was just as important. To solve this, the Inca created an ingenious preservation method called chuño. Fresh potatoes were left outside to freeze during the cold mountain nights. During the day, families squeezed out the moisture and repeated the freezing process several times. The result was a dry, lightweight food that could last for years without spoiling. These preserved potatoes filled government storehouses across the empire. They fed soldiers during military campaigns. They sustained cities during poor harvests. And they ensured that even in difficult years, food remained available. For the Inca, the potato wasn't just another crop. It was the backbone of their economy, their military, and their survival. Ironically, when Spanish conquistadors arrived in South America searching for gold and silver, they overlooked one of the greatest treasures the Andes had to offer. They carried the potato back to Europe, but almost no one wanted to eat it. When Spanish explorers returned from South America in the late 1500s, they brought home far more than gold and silver. Hidden among the new plants they introduced to Europe was the potato. But unlike precious metals, this strange underground crop attracted little interest. At first, potatoes were grown mainly in monasteries, hospitals, and botanical gardens. Few people considered them suitable for everyday meals. The reason was simple. Europeans didn't trust them. Unlike wheat or barley, potatoes grew underground. Their rough shape and strange eyes made them look unfamiliar, even unsettling. To many people, anything growing beneath the soil seemed suspicious. Their fears only grew when botanists discovered that potatoes belonged to the same plant family as deadly nightshade, one of Europe's most poisonous plants. Although potatoes themselves were safe to eat, many believed they carried the same dangers. Rumors spread quickly. Some claimed potatoes caused leprosy. Others blamed them for illness, poor health, and even moral corruption. In parts of France, officials briefly banned potato cultivation, believing it spread disease. Religious beliefs added another obstacle. Because potatoes were never mentioned in the Bible, some church leaders argued they were never intended for human consumption. For nearly 2 centuries, the potato remained an outsider. Wealthy families admired its flowers more than its food, planting it as an ornamental garden plant instead of eating it. Meanwhile, Europe continued suffering from frequent food shortages. Ironically, the very crop capable of feeding millions sat ignored in gardens across the continent. It would take war, famine, and 2 extraordinary men to finally change Europe's mind. By the 1700s, Europe still hadn't fully accepted the potato. Despite its ability to produce abundant harvests, many people continued to believe it was unfit for human consumption. Then war changed everything. In Prussia, King Frederick the Great faced a serious problem. Enemy armies could easily burn wheat fields, leaving entire regions without food. But potatoes grew safely underground, hidden from invading soldiers. Frederick realized the potato could become a weapon against famine. He ordered farmers across his kingdom to plant it. Most refused. They believed potatoes were tasteless, unhealthy, and suitable only for livestock. So the king tried something unexpected. According to a famous story, he planted a royal potato field outside Berlin and surrounded it with armed guards during the day. At night, however, the guards quietly disappeared. The plan worked perfectly. Villagers assumed the crop must be valuable if soldiers were protecting it. Under the cover of darkness, they stole the potatoes and planted them in their own fields. Within a generation, potatoes had spread across Prussia. Meanwhile, in France, another man was fighting the same battle. His name was Antoine Augustin Parmentier, a pharmacist who had spent several years as a prisoner during the 7 Years' War. While in captivity, he survived largely on potatoes. Instead of becoming sick, he remained healthy. When he returned to France, Parmentier dedicated his life to proving that potatoes were nutritious and safe. He organized elegant dinners where every course featured potatoes. He even persuaded King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette to wear potato blossoms at royal events, turning the once rejected plant into a fashionable symbol. Slowly, public opinion changed. Farmers began planting potatoes. Families started eating them. The crop that Europe had feared for nearly 2 centuries was finally accepted. No country embraced it more completely than Ireland. For millions of people there, the potato would become more than food. It would become life itself. By the early 1800s, no country relied on the potato more than Ireland. For millions of Irish families, it wasn't just a favorite food. It was their main source of survival. At the time, most Irish farmers rented very small plots of land from wealthy landlords. Growing wheat or raising livestock was difficult, but potatoes thrived even in poor, rocky soil. They required little equipment, grew well in Ireland's cool, wet climate, and produced far more food per acre than almost any other crop. A single acre could feed an entire family for a year. Potatoes were also surprisingly nutritious. Combined with buttermilk, they provided enough carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals, and protein to keep people healthy, despite having a simple diet. As food became more reliable, Ireland's population grew rapidly. From about 3 million people in 1700, it expanded to more than 8 million by 1840. The potato had transformed the country. But beneath that success lay a dangerous weakness. Almost every farmer planted the same variety of potato, known as the Irish lumper. It wasn't the tastiest potato, but it produced large harvests and grew well in Ireland's climate. The problem was that nearly every lumper potato was genetically identical. If one plant became vulnerable to disease, they all were. Modern agriculture teaches the importance of growing different varieties to reduce risk. Ireland had no such protection. The entire food supply of millions depended on a single type of potato. For years, everything seemed fine. Harvests were plentiful, families survived, and few imagined anything could go wrong. But nature had already written a different ending. In the summer of 1845, a deadly plant disease arrived in Europe from the Americas. Within weeks, it reached Ireland, and a nation built on one crop suddenly faced the greatest disaster in its history. In the late summer of 1845, Irish farmers noticed something terrifying. Healthy potato plants suddenly turned black. Within days, entire fields had collapsed. When families dug into the soil, the potatoes beneath had already rotted into foul-smelling mush. The cause was a microscopic organism now known as potato blight. It spread quickly through Ireland's cool, wet climate, destroying harvest after harvest. The first year was devastating, but what turned a poor harvest into a catastrophe was that the disease kept coming back. It returned in 1846, again in 1847, and again in the years that followed. For millions of people, there was no backup food supply. The potato had become almost their only source of nourishment. As the crops disappeared, hunger spread across the country. Families sold everything they owned just to buy food. Parents skipped meals so their children could eat. Soon, there was nothing left. Starvation weakened the population, allowing diseases such as typhus, cholera, and dysentery to spread rapidly. Entire villages were abandoned. Hospitals overflowed. Mass graves filled across the countryside. Between 1845 and 1852, about 1 million people died, while another 1 million fled Ireland. Many crossed the Atlantic on overcrowded vessels later known as coffin ships, where disease claimed thousands more lives before they ever reached America. The tragedy was made even worse by politics. Although people were starving, Ireland continued exporting grain, livestock, and other food to Britain. Government relief arrived slowly and often required starving people to perform hard labor before receiving assistance. Many historians believe the famine became so deadly not only because of the blight, but because political decisions failed to protect those most in need. When the famine finally ended, Ireland had changed forever. Its population had fallen dramatically, and millions had left their homeland for good. But those survivors carried Irish culture across the world, leaving a lasting impact wherever they settled. When the Great Irish Famine finally came to an end, Ireland was no longer the same country. Entire villages had disappeared. Millions had lost family members, homes, and livelihoods. For many survivors, staying was no longer an option. They left Ireland in search of a new beginning. Hundreds of thousands crossed the Atlantic, settling in cities like Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and Montreal. Although they faced poverty and discrimination, they worked hard, built new communities, and gradually became an important part of their adopted countries. Irish immigrants helped build railroads, factories, roads, and growing cities across North America. Over time, they became business owners, political leaders, teachers, and soldiers, leaving a lasting influence on American society. The famine changed more than migration. It also changed agriculture forever. Scientists realized that Ireland's greatest mistake had been relying on one single variety of potato. When disease struck, every field was vulnerable. There was no genetic diversity to slow the spread. From that point on, farmers and researchers began developing new potato varieties with better resistance to disease. Governments improved seed programs, while scientists studied plant diseases more closely than ever before. The lesson was simple. A strong food system depends on diversity, not uniformity. Today, that lesson remains one of the foundations of modern agriculture. Ironically, the famine didn't destroy the potato's reputation. Instead, it proved how essential the crop had become. Around the world, more countries began planting potatoes, recognizing their ability to produce large harvests, grow in difficult climates, and feed growing populations. The humble potato was no longer just a regional crop from South America. It was becoming a global food. By the late 1800s, the potato had completed an incredible transformation. A crop once feared across Europe was now feeding millions of people around the world. In Russia, potatoes were first met with suspicion, and many farmers refused to grow them. Some even protested against government efforts to introduce the crop. But over time, people realized how dependable it was. Potatoes produced large harvests, survived harsh weather, and helped families through difficult years. Eventually, Russians gave it a new nickname, the second bread. Meanwhile, in China, farmers discovered that potatoes grew well in the country's mountainous regions, where rice and wheat often struggled. Production expanded rapidly. Today, China is the largest potato producer in the world, growing more potatoes than any other nation. In India, potatoes gradually became part of everyday cooking. Introduced during the colonial period, they are now found in countless traditional dishes and help feed hundreds of millions of people. The crop also spread across Africa, especially in cooler highland regions such as Kenya, Ethiopia, Rwanda, and Uganda, where it became an important source of food and income for farming communities. Today, potatoes are grown in more than 150 countries and rank as the fourth most important food crop after wheat, rice, and corn. But the potato's impact goes far beyond the dinner table. Its starch is used to make paper, textiles, adhesives, biodegradable plastics, and even certain medicines and cosmetics. During World War II, potato starch was also used in industrial production when other materials became scarce. Then, in 1995, the potato reached an unexpected milestone. It became the first vegetable successfully grown in space as part of a NASA research project. Scientists believe potatoes could one day help feed astronauts on long missions, or even future colonies on the Moon or Mars. For a crop that was once rejected as worthless, it was an extraordinary journey. Today, the potato is one of the most common foods on Earth. We bake it, fry it, mash it, and rarely give it a second thought. Yet few crops have shaped human history as profoundly. Its story began over 8,000 years ago in the Andes Mountains, where indigenous farmers transformed a poisonous wild plant into a reliable source of food through generations of careful observation and selective breeding. Centuries later, the Inca Empire used potatoes to feed millions, supply its armies, and build one of the greatest civilizations in the Americas. When the Spanish carried the crop back to Europe, it was largely ignored. Many believed it caused disease, while others considered it unfit for human consumption. Only after years of war and famine did Europe finally recognize its value. In Ireland, the potato supported a rapidly growing population, but dependence on a single variety led to one of history's greatest humanitarian disasters, when disease struck in 1845. The Great Famine claimed about 1 million lives and forced another million people to leave their homeland, changing the history of Ireland and influencing countries around the world. Yet the potato endured. Scientists developed stronger varieties. Farmers improved cultivation methods. Today, potatoes are grown in more than 150 countries and help feed billions of people every year. Their starch is used in food, medicine, paper, textiles, and countless everyday products. Researchers have even grown potatoes in space, believing they could one day help sustain astronauts on future missions to the Moon or Mars. From a poisonous mountain plant to one of humanity's most important crops, the potato has survived fear, famine, and centuries of change. It has fed empires, transformed agriculture, and reshaped the course of history. Not many plants can make that claim. So the next time you see a potato on your plate, remember, you're looking at one of the greatest success stories in human civilization.